Nyasa News.
Zoopsa zambiri zikuwululika zimene sitimazidziwa yayi, ndipo zonsezi zikuwululika chifukwa choonera kuti boma lakhazikitsa ndondomeko imene itafufuze bwino lomwe za mmene Chilima adafera. Ndiyetu m'bale wawo weniweni wa achilima yemwe ndi Joshua Valera, komanso yemwenso amagwira ntchito ngati mulangizi wawo pa mpando wawo wa president nthawi imeneyo ali moyo, waulula kunena kuti asilikali adachita kumuthawitsa, ndipo waulula zimenezi nthawi imene amamufunsa kuti kodi iwe udaona chani pa ngozi imeneyi. Iye wachita kunena kuti ine anandithawitsa ndipo ndisakutayitseni nthawi, tatiyeni tionere limodzi.
That the evidence I shall give
shall be the truth,
the whole truth,
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Mr. Valera, you now have the freedom and the right to respond to the summons that were submitted to you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and members of the Secretariat, having received a letter from this House dated 10th June 2026 requiring me to submit in writing and in person details of my role in the acquisition of services of the plane that took the late Vice President from Lilongwe but crashed on the way to Mzuzu in Tungwa Forest, which is part of Vipsha Plantations in Nkatabe district. Here is my submission. The death of Raf Kasambara SC in Lilongwe. On the 7th of June 2024, Council Mchuka Mwale informed me of the loss of his cousin, Mr. Raphael Kasambara SC in Area 47, Lilongwe. I informed Dr. Salos Klaus Chilima, who was winding up his delegated leadership role as Malawi was participating in the South Korea Africa Summit. He was greatly saddened by the death of his close friend and asked me to update him on the funeral programs so that he can plan his attendance. Moving of remains of late Raf Kasambara SC to Blantyre, then to Nkatabe. On 8th June, Council Mchuka Mwale informed me of a decision by the family to move the body of late Raf Kasambara from Lilongwe to his house in Blantyre. The body will then be taken for Holy Mass at Montfort Parish CI at 12 noon, and later on move the body to Nkatabe on 9th June 2026. This complicated the preparations for the VP to attend, but then we heard that the family, with support from friends, have managed to hire an MDF Donia plane. Burial was therefore scheduled for 10th of June 2026, the day that coincided with a presidential activity of former President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera wanting to fly out for a summit in the Caribbean. Arrival of late Dr. Salos Klaus Chilima in Malawi from Korea. On 9th June 2024, Dr. Chilima arrived at Chileka with his wife, Chileka Airport, now Bakir Muluzi Airport, at about 20 minutes to 3 in the afternoon from Johannesburg, where he had stopped for 2 nights on his way from South Korea. There I was able to go and visit Lucius Banda, who sadly passed on a few days later after this accident. In Chileka, I was hoping to meet the family of the late Raf Kasambara as they were preparing to leave for Mzuzu. so that maybe he could excuse himself from not attending the funeral, but promising them to send high-ranking family members and officials. And the excuse would have been justified. He had just been on a long journey from Korea, and the need to see off the president as he was embarking on a foreign trip is a big custom in Malawi. But the hearse did not arrive on time. Therefore, Dr. Chilima failed to meet the family at Chileka Airport. And he was resting in the VIP lounge, was told that the plane is proceeding to Lilongwe. Having failed to meet the family, he started calling his office, Dr. Lake Sikwese in particular, to start booking the MDF Donia aircraft the next day. MDF told the VP office that there's only one Donia that was in service at the time, and it was already hired by friends of late Raphael Kasambara. So on that afternoon, for Dr. Saulos Klaus Chilima to attend the burial of late Raf Kasambala on 10th June at 11 hours, not 10 hours, but at 11 a.m. in the morning, and seeing off the president at 1700 hours in Lilongwe in the afternoon, it meant the MDF Donia 228 plane making 4 trips of 45 minutes each. This is about 3 hours of flying time, on top of about 2 hours for the relatives to go back to Blantyre in the plane that was hired. It looked hectic, but doable, because aircrafts can fly 18 hours in a day without a problem. Booking the plane with MDF, Dr. Sikwese proceeded to book the plane by speaking to the Army commander between 15 hours and 17 hours on the afternoon of the 19th June. The General Ishmael Air Force commander said that a plane that is already on hire should not be released to another customer. And therefore there was need for contacting the family to ask for release of the aircraft for use by the VP. I contacted family members led by Council Mchuka Mwale. Approval was granted, although they expressed that there was no need for the Vice President to go to the funeral of their relative. He had just returned from a long trip, and that the family would understand if he didn't go to Mzuzu, then to Nkatabe. Final confirmations for the itinerary. The VP called for me. I went to his residence and was there between 8:30 and 9:30 in the evening of the 9th of June. We confirmed the passenger list, and I did mention the concerns of the family. To say, look, there's no need to force yourself. He said, no, Raf Kasambala was my good friend. I went home and I left Lilongwe at 4:45 on the morning of 10th June as part of advance party with a driver. Arrived at Mzuzu Hotel, changed, and was at late Raf Kasambara's village by 10 a.m. Around the same time, the plane would have been arriving in Mzuzu. Communication breakdown. I was surprised that WhatsApp messages to the late VP and other people were not going through. I therefore decided to call people on the ground at Mzuzu Airport at about 10:30 to say what is going on, and they told me that the plane had left at around 9:15. Several reports will say 9:17, and they were also surprised that they haven't heard an aircraft approaching Mzuzu Airport, although it had taken more than an hour instead of the 45 minutes that was scheduled. Missing plane alert. At 11 a.m., Catholic priests were advised by late Raf Kasambara's family to commence the Holy Mass at the village. Other people were saying the plane didn't arrive because of bad weather. It has gone back to Lilongwe. But for me, it was around 11 o'clock that Brigadier General Professor Dan Kuwali beckoned me in a very strong manner that I should leave the VVIP podium for a discussion behind a tent where army officers were sitting when the mass was starting. Behind the tent, he told me that he had heard from his office that the plane is missing. They are trying to contact. It is not in touch with the dispatching airport or the receiving airport. There was zero communication. I do have a lot of friends in the aviation industry. I called two of them. They expressed their worry. They did say that the radio system used in the aircraft rarely fails, and that if there's no communication, there's no communication with alternate airports, Karonga, Likoma, or even Chipata, Tet, then the plane is not in the air. One of them actually said, expect the worst. So I sat in my car making phone calls between Lilongwe and Mzuzu. By 12 o'clock, I decided to go to Mzuzu Airport, where information was that a team will be dispatched to Ekwendeni, because the last communication with Mzuzu recorded without any machine that the plane would fly over and approach the landing strip from Ekwendeni using the M1 road as the beacon. It is a practice that has been done many times because the Ntungwa Chikangawa area is foggy most of the time. Attempts to go to Ekwendeni were stopped at about 2 o'clock, and we heard that no, the plane should be in the Chikangawa area. I therefore joined the search for the plane. That evening, we went. Now I go up north quite often nowadays. The search stretched over 90 kilometers, and it seemed like we really didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have a starting point, a proper starting point. The search was called off at near Riply factory to say the forest is big, there's nothing we can do on that night. I returned to Mzuzu, arrived back in the Chikangawa area, and then there was splitting of teams into 12. With information I was getting from other people, I decided to go to the northern side, and our team went to the famous settlement that is 700 or a kilometer away from the actual site of the crash. There, the testimony of a teacher and the children pointed towards the southern eastern side of that settlement. We went to the next turn, climbed the mountain, came down, we didn't see anything. By the time I was getting back on the M1, we just started following lots of vehicles that went to the site where the plane was found. It was cordoned off, being an employee of the VP office as well as a relative of the late. I was allowed close to the crash. That's when I saw several bodies and I could identify the body of Right Honorable Saulos Chilima. I sent a message to Madam Mary Chilima that we have found, the plane has been found, rather, but that there are no survivors. So in short, that describes my 4 days handling this aircraft. Let me stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Varela. Our members may want to probe more or seek clarification. So may I open the floor, starting with the Mwanza Central. May I request you, Mr. Varela, to drop off your mic? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have a few questions. I just want Mr. Varela to confirm that the search was called off. And at the same time, if he can recall the individual or the office that called off the search. And if he can repeat the time that the search was called off. For now, Chair.
You may respond.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of time, 9:30 earliest, 10:15 latest. The search was being coordinated, from what we could see, by Regional Commissioner North of Police, Commissioner Luhanga, who is now the IG. There were about 10 army officers only, but definitely more than 50 police officers and well-wishers from UTM, Afford, and other well-wishers just joined the search. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. On the number of army officers, you're saying there were about 10 army officers?
Yes.
Thank you. Chair, in the report, I want you to take note about the number of officers that Mr. Varela is mentioning, so that we compare with the number of officers that were involved in the search, number one. Number two, in the report, there is an indication that the search was not stopped. So I want to take note. There is an allegation, Mr. Varela, that...
Point of order. Point of order. So which report are you referring to? Which report? Can you be very specific?
Yes, the last inquiry. And there's an allegation, Mr. Varela, from people who were at Ntungwa during the siege, that some civilians volunteered to proceed with the search and they were stopped. So I just want you to confirm whether that information is true.
Through you, Chair, I did not witness any incident where volunteers were being stopped to search. Secondly, there could have been other search parties that were not being managed by the regional police commissioner. That's a possibility. But what seemed to have been the main search team was commanded from Riply factory area along the M1 at the roadblock. That is the search that discontinued to say due to visibility and lack of preparedness in dressing. The search could not continue.
Thank you. Last one, Chair. Since you got to the scene, we could probably say maybe within the first minutes of the identification of the scene, did you probably got information as to who were the first to get to the scene between the military and the police?
I got to the scene at about 10:30, and having seen the condition of the aircraft and the bodies, I broke down and had to be taken away, and therefore I didn't have a chance to ask who came here first. I knew there would be an investigation and that I would get the details later. Yeah, but I could not stand the sight of the crash anymore because of the closeness. I met Silas Chilima. Our first pictures are 1975 at Chileka Airport. So we have grown up together, and therefore seeing him in that state, I just had to be taken away of the place. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chair.
There's Casina.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. And once again, good afternoon and welcome, Mr. Varela. I want to take you to your presentation, bullet number 10, where you had left Nkata Bay upon learning that the flight is missing, and you had returned to Zuzu Airport to confirm the news of the plane was missing. And when you get to Zuzu Airport, first question is, how was the situation? Who did you meet? Who were there at Zuzu Airport, where the decisions were being made to send a team to Egwendeni, and then later on you say, no, 2 o'clock, let's go look at Ntungwa, Chikangawa area. And you were driving from Kadabe to Nzuzu at that time. How was the weather? And also, when you were going for the search, how was the situation and how was the weather? Because yesterday we had a witness who said he had difficulties in driving from Zuzu to Kadabe because of the weather of that morning. Mr. Kita said that. So I want to appreciate you around 12 noon driving from Kadabe, the same road to Nzuzu. How was the weather? And how was also the weather from during the search when you around 2 p.m. when you say you had gone starting now the search at Reply? But first is who did you meet? Who were at the Nzuzu airport? Asamid Chair.
You can take those questions?
Yes, thank you very much. At Nzuzu Airport, we met the officer who seemed to be the one responsible for communication. And he explained that the plane was in touch with the airport when it reached the command area. It had left the Lilongwe command area. As soon as it reached, it reported in. Then it went quiet. Then there was the issue of pilot saying visibility is not good. Our approach from Ekwendeni. Thereafter, there was a brief communication at 12 minutes past 10, and then zero communication. So there was no command center of any sort. It seemed like people would come, talk to the same gentleman, use the information, and start running all over the place. So after coming out of that building, I didn't know where to go. I just stayed around the airport. That's when some well-wishers said, no. The people that went to Ekwendeni have received information that the plane didn't go as far as Ekwendeni. It must be in Ichikangawa. My message, which was not replied to the Vice President at 10, described the weather at the village of the Kasambaras. The village is only 20 kilometers, so it's not in Katabe, it's almost in Mzuzu. And therefore, it was raining. The village was muddy. The VVIP podium was invaded by people running away from the rain. We were actually worried that if the VP arrived at 20 past 10, he would not find a space to sit. And we're dealing with that situation. Going back to Mzuzu, it was raining, but the visibility was improving. The visibility that was worrying, where people almost wanted to go back to Lilongwe, was after Mzimbaboma turnoff. From Mzimbaboma turnoff all the way to Mzuzu, visibility was very low. But in the afternoon, when we went for the search, it was getting better, but it was getting colder. And in June, the sun sets earlier. By 5:30, it was really dark. That's when we started traveling all over the place, going into Nghat, in the forest and out. We actually went as far as the new road that takes you to Nkatabe Boma, which is really, really far away. We drove on that tarmac road, ended up at a ground, just hearing story. Oh, we could see people, it was flying low. But those stories ended up being correct when the BFU report showed how the plane was moving up and down on quite a large area. I hope I've tackled the two questions.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Properly. Thanks.
Lilongwe Mudi, and then Planta Malabada.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you so much, Mr. Varela. We are sorry for the loss. I have a few questions that I just need some confirmation from you, because it's different to what we had earlier on. So I just want that confirmation from you. You mentioned that the burial ceremony was supposed to start at 11 o'clock. And actually, if I heard you right, you said not 10 o'clock. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you so much. And you have also informed us that you went to the house of the late Vice President between 8:30 to 9:30. And in your discussions, you confirmed the passenger list. Do you have this passenger list? Or can you remember people who were in this passenger list? And the
third question, I think, which is the second one, because you answered the first one already. You mentioned that there were 10 military officers and, of course, a lot of police officers there. I just want to get a confirmation that these were officers, because in the military there are officers and then there are soldiers. So were these officers and were there soldiers under the command of these officers who were doing the search? So I just want to get clarity whether these were officers, and then the officers usually move with soldiers whom they command. So I wanted to get a clarification on that one. Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson.
You may take those questions.
Yeah, so on the list of passengers was Madam Mary Chilima, Gloria Kamtukule, and the victims that we all know. So these are the two people that were on the list. So something changed in the morning for Madam Chilima and her close protection officer not to be on that aircraft. On officers versus soldiers, sometimes it's not easy to distinguish them if you're a civilian, unless you are very keen. Therefore, I would say there were not more than 2 officers in the teams I was with. The rest would be the soldiers. Yeah. Thank you.
Lanta Malabada, then we'll come to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. My sincere condolences to you, Mr. Valera. I would like to find out your relationship with the late Vice President. Were you friends or you were related? Number one. Number two, the late Vice President and the late Honorable Kasambara were very, very close. At any point in time, did the family of the late Kasambara mention to you the state of the weather in Zuzu and what they had experienced on the aeroplane when they were traveling from Blanta to Zuzu? Third question is, how did you become aware that the late Vice President had changed his mind about not attending the burial ceremony? And what time was that? Thank you very much.
You can answer that question, those 2.
Thank you very much. So the late Vice President's mother was a 3rd born in the Varela family in Insipe, and my father was the 2nd born, and that was the 2nd born. So we are related. We both grew up together in Blanta, went to Chancellor College. He was just a year behind me. And he was my roommate for 3 years. After finishing school, we lived together in 2 houses before I moved to Lilongwe in 2008. When he came to in 1998. When he came to Lilongwe in 2006, we were in the same neighborhood, and being of the same religion, we were in the same church. So when he became Vice President in 2014, he saw a role of special advisor, which is not a day-to-day job. He trusted me to be his special advisor for the 2 terms. He was Vice President. So he was a relative, and we got along, so he was a relative and a friend. The second question?
The second question was on his changing of mind about not attending the funeral, and then he decided to attend.
Yeah, so as I explained earlier on, the fatigue was really wearing on him when he was in South Africa people noted that he looked tired. And therefore, he decided that he was not going to the funeral, but that there was opportunity. In the Catholic funeral mass on Sundays cannot start earlier than 12 o'clock. That is the rule. So we calculated that, okay, if people are well organized, they can be at CI exactly at 12, go in, come out at 1:30, and by an hour later, they should be at Chileka Airport. Meanwhile, when the South Africa to Malawi daily flight by Malawi Airways leaves on time at 12:30, 2:30, they should be at Chileka. So there was this small opportunity of condoling the family at Chileka, explaining to them the trip from South Korea to Dubai, Dubai to South Africa, South Africa to Chileka, Chileka to Lilongwe. The next day getting on that flight, there would have been a genuine reason to excuse oneself, and that representative could be sent. So it must be something to do with the relationship he had with Raf, failing to condole the children and the widow. That touched him to say, look, I will go. It's not easy, but I will go. And remember, coupled with that was trying to maintain good rapport with the president by not also making an excuse. I've just come back from Korea. I want to go to a funeral. See you when you come back. He also felt compelled to attend the afternoon event of seeing off the president. And when we calculated the hours, it all looked doable, tough, but doable. But then we ended up with this tragedy. Thank you.
Nyasa News.